Okay folks, let's continue setting up our cameras. Let me get back to my default camera, and another angle that I'm thinking about. Let's just go ahead. Let's see, just make this 500 frames for a moment so we have a bit more range. Frame 220 and an angle like this, okay, I think would be nice. Let me just create a camera here. I'm going to go to that camera again. I'm going to change my length to be very wide. In this project I mostly used wide angle cameras, and let's just change this to something like 15, and that's going to be very nice. Let's put something like this angle maybe. Just name it camera 220 for frame 220, and I'm going to just duplicate this camera, and let's go to something when the second wave is sort of about finished. Maybe just go to round number, something like 320 for the moment. I'm not sure yet, so let's just change the angle. Sorry, go to your view, undo the view so you get back to the last camera view. Select your second camera, and let's just change the angle of it. Maybe to something like this. Now we have one camera here, another here, and if I go to my default camera, what we can do is we can start in here, and as time goes by we can get back to here, for example, if we want. But because of the way the motion, I think it's just nicer this way. Let me just have a quick render, and let's just adjust this angle a bit more so we have a better and nicer angle. And frame 220, I think something like this isn't too bad. Okay, so let's name this camera camera 320. Now we're going to be using a functionality inside Cinema 4D called Morph camera, in which you can morph between two cameras and then blend between them. So let's just select your first camera, select your second camera, come here to your camera, and you get this camera morph. Okay, click on that, and you have a new camera under null, and that camera, as you can see, has two inputs for camera 1, camera 2. You can have more inputs by changing this source mode from simple to multi-morph if you want to morph between multiple cameras. And now you can simply go to this morph camera, click on this icon here, and let's go to frame 220. Control click on this blend amount, and let's go to frame 320 and change the blend to 100%. Control click on the blend amount again, and now you get this sort of motion. Let's see how it's looking like with play. Okay. This hair thing here sorta in the way, and we can offset it really simply. If you go to your hair setup here and select the main hair, there we go, this is our LMB cache. You can actually using this value offset it and get different part. You can, for example, offset by 100 frame, and it would possibly appear on this side when we are in frame 200 and 320. So we possibly have to change this sort of stuff when we need to render this exact frame. So you go through your cameras and render them, and when, for example, you get to this camera, you can simply change the tracer offset here, but let's just have a render here, a render in between, and a render in final frame, and see where we are. And if we think it's nice, that's great. If not, we're gonna have to change our framing a bit. So let me go through and render these 3 frames and get back to you. Okay, so we have these 3 renders from our frame 220, frame 275, and frame 320. And I think generally speaking is nice. I think these lines and hair like swirl thing is just getting in the way too much. But I really think we can just keep it this way, and when the time comes to render this camera, we can actually change this if we think, but let's just leave it there for the moment. And so this is our morph camera. Let me just rename this also. So camera, this is our 3rd camera. Let me just select all of them, Alt and G to group them. Camera 3, 220, 320, and you can add a morph to the name here. So this is for this one. And let's go to our layers and actually make sure our effectors are hidden. Let's go to another angle. Let me get back to my default camera. Another angle that I really like is this top view, and let's just take a look and see which frame we want. As you can see here, and our shader effector, let me enable it here too. I think I'm going to stay. You can see this is our first burst. So I'm going to actually go quite close. Let's create a new camera. For this camera, I'm going again very wide. Let's see how it's gonna work and how it's gonna look for us. Get back to that camera, and I'm thinking about something like this. And let me just animate the position of this camera. So we are moving. Let's just animate the position and rotation a bit, maybe later on. So let's frame 282 or something like 276 would be enough. Let me just set up a keyframe, and let's move along. I'll go to this view here, top view. As you can see, we have too much cameras and it's really hard to see which one is the right one. So let's just move it in our top view in the y-axis. Okay. So maybe something like this. Though we can maybe move the beats 320. Okay, and let's set another keyframe for our camera, and let's see where we are in our motion. Hit play. So actually, I'm going to stay with this camera until 300, maybe 40. Let me just make sure the timing is right. Let's just have a quick render and see how it looks. We cannot really decide how exactly the render would be. Let's just take render and see where we are. Okay, so you can see really going to these really weird angles. That's what makes your job quite something different from what other people do, because people normally would go to something quite normal. So in order to make your design something extraordinary, you have to go to some extraordinary stuff like camera angle and stuff like that. So this is not too bad. Let's just see the motion and see the first. Let's see. Let's have a quick render in the middle and see how it works. Okay, so I think this is not too bad, and I think we can continue and see. I'm going to this camera will be from 276 to something like 333. So let's camera for 276, 335. Let's see. Okay, so this is about this camera. So there is just one last camera that we have to set it up, and that's going to be our last camera, and let's set up that too. Okay, so let's set up our last camera, and the last for this final motion. Okay. Let's see what we want to do and where we want to. This is where our shader effector comes to play, about frame 350, 300, and we can okay. Let's just disable this main cloner for a moment. So, and also for the final camera, we would possibly we're not gonna use this hair-like thing, and we'll just clean up our scene a bit. And I think I didn't use the main cloner for the final camera. I just disabled it when I rendered the final camera. So we just have this main this logo cloner in the middle. So let's just make sure. Go to our hair setup, and let's just hide our the tracer that we have, and let's start moving around and finding out two nice angle and going to something really wide. So let's frame about maybe about here, 350 to about 450. Again, 100 frame for this one too. So let's just set up a camera here, and let's name this one 350, and then I'm going to create a new camera, and let's name this guy 450. And the next thing, let's just go to this camera and try to make sure it's completely centered. And let's go to his coordinate and see what's going on here. Okay, let's go to -90. Let's go to 0. And we are not in that camera here. Let's zero out the X and the Z. And as you can see now, we are exactly in the center of our world, and our camera is looking from up. And let's quickly render. Okay, so you can see how it actually works, and it looks like we need to actually adjust our shader effector when the time comes to render this one to actually make sure it's just working fine. Let's just go a bit higher. Maybe we need to actually change our frame. Looks like this frame is much more better. Frame 500, because as you can see, let's go to frame 400 for this one to 500. So 400 to 500, because in frame 450 our shader effector is still working. So let's go to frame 500 and see if we are going to get a better render. Okay, as you can see now we have our final logo in a nice way, and we can definitely continue. Just let's set up a quick morph camera between the camera 400 and camera 500. That's great. Okay, great. Now let's simply just put this one down, select the first, select the second, go to your cameras and choose camera morph. Let's go to frame 500, doesn't matter, let's go from frame 500. Let's go to frame 400 and change this value to 0. Let's go to our morph camera. Now you can see frame 400, you get this sort of look. Now you can make it more gradual, or you can work on this first camera maybe a bit more to make it sort of maybe something like this, so you have a much more of a change in angle and motion. Okay, and this for here I'm going to something like 1000. So now this is what you need. And also I'm going to work on this blend curve. So let's right click animation and show F curve, and I want it to be very quick at the beginning and then gradually rests. So let's just select this guy. I think just move a bit, control and drag, so you have this really severe change in motion at the beginning. It's very fast and it gradually stops. So let's hit play. Even though it's a little bit hard to see, but the effect is definitely there. It's very fast at the beginning, and it then kind of changes. And so let's go to frame 400 again. So let's see, and very slowly stops. So this is great. And in the next lesson we're going to be working on our scene more, and hopefully we've come so far, and we are really about to close our Cinema 4D very quickly in maybe 2 or 3 lessons, and get to Cinema 4D for the final compositing.